All right, it is Wednesday, August 18th, and I know we haven't had a live in a couple weeks because last week we didn't have any power. This week, all good, we have power and we're ready to rock and roll. And the topic that I chose for this week is how to eliminate toxic people from our life. And I think we all have that, right? We all have people in our life. It could be family, but some acquaintances, maybe those that we call friends or used to call friends that don't make us feel very good about ourselves, or they try and impose their wishes and wills upon us for many different reasons. But how can we take care of ourselves by eliminating those toxic people from your life, from our lives? What I'd like is, if you're here live with us, let me know that you're here. Just say I'm here. And if you have any questions or if you want to make any comments about the topic, please feel free to do so. As always, I do have some notes in front of me because it's a topic, and every topic is important, but I want to make sure that I talk about some experiences that I've had and different ways that, hi Tina, that we can work through the toxicity that we have in our life. And so we all know how important it is for our bodies to eliminate toxic foods, right? Toxic hazards, whether it's the air that we're breathing in. Hey Amy and Kim, nice to see you. Again, our topic is how to eliminate those toxic people from our lives. And I want to see that you're all here. If you have any questions or comments, put that in the comments below. That way I can answer those questions or acknowledge those comments, and we can start discussion points off of that. So anyway, we all know how important it is for our bodies to get rid of toxic food, alcohol, that kind of thing, right? We talk about that stuff all the time. Hey, Michelle. But what about giving ourselves a break from like toxic attitudes? Like, have you ever gone into a grocery store and they're maybe not very happy, like the clerk, and they're just not very nice or pleasant, or bad customer service? Obviously they have some things going on personally. They maybe don't want to be there, but they kind of put that on you, right? And make you feel bad. And so how do you deal with those kinds of things? So, but toxic attitudes, we need to take a break from that and get rid of that in our lives as well, because toxic people, like foods and alcohol, can be extremely dangerous to us. And they distract us from those habits that we want to make that are positive and productive. And when we have those toxic people making comments, then it distracts us from what we want to do. And you're going to have people that are just going to discourage you. It could be, like I was saying, it could be friends, those you call friends that or used to be friends, could be family members, co-workers. They love to discourage us from doing the things that we enjoy, and some of us enjoy exercise, and they discourage that. Or they make fun of you for wanting to be better. They make fun of you because you maybe want to lose a little weight, but they don't think you do because they think you look fine, right? But it's really about how you feel. But they want to like sabotage you into thinking their way. And they come up with all kinds of reasons for you to, not be productive and happy in your life. And there's a difference, right, between people who are truly toxic to like your well-being and those who have kind of that negative outlook because maybe they are struggling with depression. So, there is a difference between people like that. So if you have friends and family members who do suffer from like a clinical depression, just let them know that you love them and you support them, and don't cut them out of your life. But that's different than interacting with toxic people. And I say toxic because those are the ones that are constantly cutting you down. When you are depressed, you're cutting yourself down, not necessarily other people. But so those toxic people that you have in your life are cutting you down. They're trying to manipulate you to their own advantage. And that takes a toll on your mental health, right? And it's hard to distance yourself from those toxic people. And I'm sure you probably all know what I'm talking about. People that maybe used to be your friends, they want to be your friends, but they're always trying to sabotage what you want to do or how you feel about yourself, or the ways that you want to live your life, because either they're jealous or they just want to make you feel bad. And sometimes I don't think they even realize that they know that they're doing that. they cling on. Like sometimes they cling on for years. Like you just want to get rid of them. It's kind of like you want to get rid of some weight. It's like those people are just weighing on you, and you want to get rid of them, and they make you feel guilty, and they're not easy to get out of your life, right? They just are there, and they make you feel guilty about wanting to do something different and make some positive changes in your life, that you should always hang with them and do what they want to do and drink and smoke. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a drink, but maybe that's what they do their whole life. Like they want you to do that with them, and that's not in the direction that maybe you want to go, or maybe you want to change. And so to help you like detox from those relationships, I have some tips for getting rid of those not such good or harmful personalities. And let me hear any comments. Do you guys deal with toxic people or coworkers, and how do you deal with that? I'd love to see some comments as to how you deal with them. But I have some steps that will help you, and I can honestly tell you and be super transparent, as I am kind of in the process of doing that with my life, because I have certain goals set for myself, not only personally but professionally as well. And sometimes people that I have associated with pull me in a different direction, and I need to change that direction. And so how do we do that? And so some of the things that I've done is, like, the first thing is identify the toxicity. So if there is something that you feel isn't right, that it's actually harming you, then that's something that you need to get rid of. Just like toxic food, if it's not feeling good after you eat it, get rid of it, right? So we can do that with people too, not in a sense of harming them, but removing yourself from situations, like not hanging with the group that maybe you've hung with before, or going places with those people, because it is so toxic and damaging to your mental health. Toxic people are manipulative, so sometimes you don't even know what's happening, and they're very selfish. They're very self-centered, and everything's about them, that they don't really care about how you feel or the direction that you want to go with your life. And so they're not supportive. They're harming you. And if you recognize that, then obviously that's a toxic person, right? Toxic people are difficult to please. They're impossible to work with, even when you're trying to help them, right? They don't want to take your help or constructive feedback. And so if they're not owning their own feelings or apologizing for their behavior, then that's a problem. So that's a relationship that you want to separate yourself from. And sometimes it's family, and that makes it really hard. More often than not, it's somebody that you have a relationship with, like a coworker that you have to work with. But there's ways that you can set some boundaries, and I'll get to that. So if a relationship is constantly weighing on you, like it's just really getting to be that you just like, you find yourself complaining about them, or you're complaining to your husband or your significant other about them, then that is definitely a toxic relationship. And so if they're bringing you down instead of building you up, then it's time that you need to let go. So if you feel really like, I just don't even want to like go to work because that person's going to be there, or I don't want to go to that family function because Aunt Susie's going to be there and she's just so negative and she's not supportive, or whatever it might be. Toxic people are a distraction from your true purpose, where you want to go in your life. They are distracting you from getting to where you want to go, right? So same with bad food, right? It's keeping you from where you want to go in health and fitness world. So kind of, if you use that as kind of that analogy, or to help you identify that. So the first thing, like I said, you identify the toxicity. Like, yes, this is really happening. This is how I feel. Sometimes it takes you a while to do that, and that's okay. But once you identify that, and it's truly that, then the next thing is you want to be firm, right? So just like you want to get rid of bad food in your diet, you have to get rid of it, and you have to like not have it in the house, right? So you have to meet that toxic force, a toxic person, powerfully, not in a mean, detrimental way, but in a powerful way, because they're not just going to go away, right? Sometimes you just have to dig in a little bit deeper, and you have to actually create a separation. So you have to be very, very clear with the person about your intentions, then keep that necessary distance to make sure that your message isn't misinterpreted or misconstrued. So if you are very clear with that person and just say, I don't want to go, to take that weekend with you. I need to, be home with my family. I feel uncomfortable sometimes when I'm with that group, and just be very, very open. The best thing you do is open and honest, and very clear about that, because then they will understand that and they're not going to misinterpret that. So, number one, identify that it's a toxic relationship. Number two, be firm about it. Really be very, very clear about your intentions so that they understand where you're coming from. And maybe they won't understand right away, but if you make those intentions very clear, eventually that will happen. Number three is set some boundaries. And then if you do set boundaries, you have to stick with them. And it has to be a long-term boundary. So it can't be just, I'm going to not go with you this time. I'm not going to be associating myself with that group anymore, because that's not where I want to go with my life. I want to become a better person. I want to get in better shape. I don't want to drink every single night, whatever it might be. And stick with those boundaries on a long-term basis. Because what they'll do is any kind of weakness, like all of a sudden now you're with them, like maybe 3 weeks from the time that you had that boundary set, then they're going to sneak back into your life, right? So let's say you said, I'm not going to respond to any more text messages. Then you don't respond to text messages. You don't go and associate with that group of people that they're with, or you don't go and have dinner with them anymore. Be very, very clear about those boundaries. You may need to block their number and block them on social media. That's something that you may need to do, because you won't see that, right? You won't see that anymore, and you'll be able to, separate. You won't see their texts. They won't be maybe putting negative things out on social media, because that's what a lot of people like to do. So block them. Don't send them any emails. Don't send them text message. Don't check in with them several months from now. Separate yourself. And so once you've made that decision to end a relationship, you're responsible, right, for keeping those guidelines clear. You have to be okay with that. And it's okay, because you're taking your life in a different direction. Do any of you have any, hey Pam, yeah, boundaries, self-worth, self-love, very, very true. Jody's here. I mean, it's so true, right? So set boundaries. Just like we talked about setting boundaries for your time, to take time to yourself, right? To take time to exercise, eat well, meal prep, whatever it is, you have to set boundaries with those toxic relationships too. So if it's a not feel good relationship, you need to be firm, right? And set those boundaries, all that kind of stuff. And then number 4, so I'll just reiterate. Number 1, identify the toxicity. Number 2, be firm with that. Set those boundaries. And then don't be too nice. Don't be, oh, well, Susie, I'm just going to take a break, and, I'll get back with you in a couple of weeks or whatever. Toxic people will take advantage of any kindness, if you're overly nice, all of that, because they get their energy from sucking it out of you, right? They get off, if you will, on sucking the energy right out of you and all the goodwill. They thrive on that trust and that kindness that you give them. It doesn't mean that you have to be swearing at them and be cruel and mean, but don't go out of your way to be accommodating. And it sounds, like, so just don't be, be firm, be matter of a fact. Because if you are too nice, remember the saying, nice guys finish last? It kind of is, right? You have to just be firm. Don't be a nasty woman. Just be firm, because if you're not, they will sneak back in, because they get their energy off of you. So don't be too nice. Hard for all of us, because as women, we want to be nice to everybody, and we want everybody to like us and be friends, but you're only hurting yourself if you're not honest and true with those people. Number 5, realize it's not your job to save them. So do you have those friends that show up whenever they need something? They only show up when they need something. But other than that, they're not around, right? Yeah, Amy, it's a tough one when it's your child. That would be very, very difficult because there is that unconditional love, and we'll touch on that here in a little bit. It would be tough. Yeah, yeah. Like Jody said, there's the queen bee and her wannabes. It's kind of like that popular girl, and everybody wants to be popular with her, that kind of stuff. So, but again, toxic people take advantage of the nice people. So, So realize it's not your job to save them and fix them, because they're only going to show up when they want something from you, when there's a crisis in their life. They're not going to be there to help you with the crisis in your life, if that makes any sense. They're the kind of people that they ask for a shoulder to cry on or an ear for you to lend. They may disguise it as wanting advice, but what it is it's just they want your time and attention. It's like a ploy. It's like a ploy for your time and attention. So don't give it to them no matter the circumstance. Remember, you are wanting to better yourself. You want to move past these toxic relationships in your life. Because if it doesn't feel good, if being with that person is uncomfortable, then it's time to end that relationship. And I've had to go through that, and it's not an easy situation. But be firm, because honestly, you're going to feel better in the long run. It might take a little bit, but you'll definitely feel better. So let's say this friend comes back and they're the toxic person and they want your help. And if you feel like they're really truly in trouble, you can direct them to resources and just help them, just say, here's a number of, maybe it is you dial the 211 in your community for maybe some help with crisis situations. Whatever is in your community, you can direct them to certain services so that you kind of give them that instead of giving them yourself, if you know what I mean, because it's really not your responsibility. In fact, if it's that severe, it's probably beyond your capability, or it's just their ploy to get back at you, to get that time and attention from you. So think about that too, is that it's really not your job to save them. And then number 6, know that when it's done, it's done. They'll keep coming back if you let them. If you keep letting them come back, they will keep coming back. So when you decide that you want to say goodbye to them, that toxic person, make sure you're ready to make it permanent. And it may take a couple times, right? But you have to be ready to do that. Because they, again, will always find a way to create drama or a problem in your life. Once they've done that many times, because those are the people that you want to separate yourself, they'll just keep coming. They'll keep coming. So when you decide you want to move on from that, you need to move on from good and make it permanent. Now, if the toxic person is family, it's therefore impossible sometimes to make that clean break. You can still establish some clear limits for your interactions. So, Amy, you were saying when it's your child, it is impossible to make that clean break, but you can establish some clear limits for those interactions. Maybe it's we can speak on the phone once a month, or I will visit you on a holiday, but make it very clear. Or those are just some examples. Or maybe it's every holiday, or maybe it's just at Christmas, but and depending on what the situation is, but set that boundary so that you're not drawn into that toxicity and they're not trying to sabotage you, if that makes sense. So it could be a parent, like Amy said, it's your child. It could be an uncle or something like that. It could be really anybody in your family, but you can still establish those clear boundaries and those limits. Number 7, treat your separation like the breakup it is. So we need relationships, right? We want to be social. We're social beings, but we don't need every relationship, especially ones that cause us pain. If it causes you more pain than support, then it's time to separate. It's time to break up, if you will, end that relationship. Have you ever heard energy flows where attention goes? That's what happens, right? So the more selective you are about where your focus is, the more successful you'll be. So if you're deciding that you want to separate and go in a different direction, when your attention is going in that different direction and not back over with this topic, eventually, and it's going to take some time, but you're going to get there, and that relationship will end. Time will separate that, as long as you're making sure that that boundary is set, that you're not engaging with that. Could be a relationship, a previous spouse or boyfriend or fiance or something like that. And so it's hard to do that because you had a relationship with them and there might have been a lot of positives, but now it's more negative. It's okay to separate yourself from that, and give yourself permission to do that. But again, you have to be clear with that. The more time you spend away from those toxic people and those relationships, the more time you have for yourself, right? And people that are positive, and spending time with people who are uplifting and supportive. And you want to make time and spend time with people that bring you happiness, right? And bring you the brightness in your life, and the support that you need, and those that want to support you in the direction that you want to go, not the ones that are trying to drag you down, suck the life out of you, right? So yeah. And like Tina says, let them wonder what's going on with you. Let them guess. Like who cares? It's not, you're not trying to be mean or nasty, but if that's not something you identify with anymore, it's okay. People don't have to like and love everything that you do. A lot of us are people pleasers, especially us women, but when it's really hurting us and they're not supportive, that relationship needs to end, or you're not going to get where you want to go. So hopefully this was really helpful. And Jody said, put the monkey back on their shoulders, right? That's very, very true. Hey, Pamela, nice to see you. Love the interaction, because we all have had toxic people, toxic friends, or people who were friends, some toxic acquaintances that you don't even want to associate with. And I've been in toxic relationships, and especially if you have children with them, you do have to see them, but there still are those boundaries that you can set. Just like if you have kids that you're sharing, sometimes you have to set boundaries, and there's visitation limits. It's just like that. It's that kind of a relationship. But you need to do what's best for you. Don't be mean about it. Just be firm and set boundaries. So I'm going to review those 7 tips, and I'll put them in the comments below this live, the 7 tips. You identify the toxicity, right? The first step of getting rid of something or someone is recognizing the fact that it's harming you, right? That they're not helping you go in the direction that you want to go. Number 2, be firm. You have to meet that with a powerful force, right? They're not just going to go away because you say, I want you to go away. You might have to dig your claws in a little bit deeper, which is absolutely fine to do. You have to be firm with that. You have to set boundaries. That's number 3. And you have to stick with those boundaries in a long term, not just a short term fashion. It has to be long term. And even if it's family, right? You still can set boundaries. I will contact you every 2 weeks. I will send you an email every month. I will visit you on holidays. You can come visit me on Christmas, whatever it is. So set boundaries. That's 3. Number 4, don't be too nice, because toxic people take advantage of niceness. They take advantage of people that are sweet and kind. They will thrive on that. They love that. They get their energy from draining it out of you, right? Don't be cruel, but don't go out of your way to accommodate. Number 5, realize it's not your job to save them, right? Sometimes they just want your time and attention, and it's a ploy to get that when they say that they need you, that they're running through some hardships. Give them resources to help them with their hardships. Don't try and fix it for them. Know that when it's done, it's done. If you end it, it's done, because they'll keep coming back if you let them, right? When you say goodbye, make it permanent. Don't keep going back. Treat your separation like the breakup it is. That's number 7. You don't need every relationship. You need some relationships, but not ones that bring you pain. If they're bringing you pain and not support, that's not helpful for you, right? So spend more time away from toxic people. They're the ones that are going to give you energy and support and help you become that happy person that you want to be and reach the goals that you want to. So hopefully this was helpful. I'm going to again post these 7 tips for getting rid of harmful personalities and harmful toxic people in your life. And you do the best you can. And there's a lot of resources out there, and this group is great to help you, just be in a supportive group, supportive relationship, ask questions. I think this is a very good group, especially, because women, we want to be friends with everybody. I want everybody to like me too, but not everybody does, and that's okay. And not everybody's going to support you in the direction you want to go. And if it's hurting you, you need to separate. So I hope you enjoyed the topic. I want to know more ideas for topics that we can talk about. So if you have any ideas, put them in the comments as well, as I really like to hear what you guys have to say, because that's what this group is all about. So I will also be taking this live and posting it in the guides section on the in the group. You'll see guides. You click on it and you'll be able to see all the Facebook lives that I do, and you can go and listen to them anytime you want. You can even share them with people that maybe need that. So thanks, Pam, and I'm glad you loved it, Jennifer, and you guys are awesome. We will see you next Wednesday for another topic, and let me know what you want to talk about. Have a good one.